Yo. The biggest problem with having a big ass head is that every pair of shades I will ever own is going to fit awkwardly.
We love Moriocho.
Hello. Welcome to my little plane of oblivion that I call the atmosphere. Feeling good tonight? I hope so. I'm feeling good tonight. I'm sure you can guess why. Am I? I'd like to welcome you to Audio Show Radio with Groovy Tony. If you know me, say hi. If you don't know me, get to know me. If you don't want to get to know me, the fuck are you doing here? It's my channel. I'm doing what I want. You don't like it? Make your own channel. Go do what you want. Just that easy. What we're doing here tonight is we're getting into the finale of Dokgo. And, well, it's a crazy ride. So, with that, let's go ahead and get into it. With these last few chapters and see what's next.
Kung Hyuk is beaten to a pulp. The second years finish up their hits and laugh among themselves. Their strength in numbers, but even more bravado. Taehyun tells them to drag Hyuk over to him. Some of the underlings use their uniforms to dry a bench so Taehyun can sit down. Once again showing the kind of leader he is. He didn't even have to tell them. The lessons were already instilled with violence. As Hyuk falls to his knees in exhaustion, he's kicked by Hyunsung. The remaining royals are standing nearby, along with Pao Young and Jung-hoo. Taehyun then tells Hyuk to crawl to him, which he does. He doesn't have much of a choice. Right now, the safety of the girls is at stake. Taehyun reminds Hyuk that holding out until 7:30 isn't going to save the girls. At this rate, they're both going to end up being attacked. Taehyun lights a cig, and then dumps the ashes on Hyuk's head, once again proceeding to mock Hyuk's efforts, telling him that justice and vengeance are for people with prestige in life. He continues on by telling Hyuk about society and how things like protests aren't effective, that people assure themselves that they're in the right by surrounding themselves with people who see things the same as them, but they all lose. As Taehyun talks, the remaining soldiers look on. They don't argue at all. They understand their place. It's not as if any of them are simple, low-life, numbskull thugs. They're all going to go on to get good jobs and good companies, probably working under Taehyun and building the same connections that he has. Or at least, that's the norm. Not every thug ends up a thug. Some wise up and become bankers, join the police force, work in the government. It's just that simple. You can be a thug without being a moron. You just have to know where your talents and charisma lie. And Taehyun has already figured out where his are. Because they've been passed down to him. Taehyun then tells Hyuk that he was just comforting himself, picking off the royals one by one and scheming to take down the circle. None of these were real options for someone like Hyuk, as far as Taehyun is concerned. He puts out his cigarette on Hyuk's head. He tells Hyuk it's time for him to go back to where the losers belong. Back at the incineration plant, Gil-young is sitting by with the soldiers, waiting for word from Taehyun. And then, an unfortunate calamity befalls him and his men. As someone grabs Gil-young's attention, he looks up to see Jong-il walking in his direction. Jong-il asks if Seo Ye-ran is here. Gil-young stands up questioning the situation. Jong-il realizes from Gil-young's reaction that he was absolutely right. Gil-young asks him who the hell he is. When Jong-il says that he's just there to get Seo Ye-ran, Gil-young asks his underlings why they're just standing there. The short answer is instinctual fear. They're trying not to shit themselves, because they don't know what the hell's going on, but they know they don't want this problem. The long answer is, well, it's what's about to happen. Someone pulls a blade, and Jong-il tells him he should put it down before he gets hurt. He retorts that Jong-il will be the one who gets hurt. Whoa, this wit is as sharp as his blade. Unfortunately, the sharpness of that blade isn't of any use. Jong-il hits him in the hand and disarms him in a way that I honestly can't describe properly. What I know for sure is, by the end of it, Jong-il is holding the knife. You see, what Jong-il possesses is one of the most dangerous abilities you can find. The ability to hit wherever it is he wants. When you can aim with that kind of precision, you don't exactly need to be brute force strong. A precise hit in the right spot can knock a man down with no problem. And with the right tool, all it takes is 5 pounds of pressure. But Jong-il isn't here to kill. He folds the blade, telling them that it doesn't matter how indecent they are. They're still someone's child. That's kind of him. He then tells them that he doesn't usually attack the weak guys first, but he's in a hurry, so he hopes they understand. Jong-il's habit of rage-baiting his opponents is on full display here. And it works, of course, since they are actually weak. Number 1 gets poked in the throat with the butt of the knife, instantly taking him out of the fight. Number 2, a larger fellow, attempts to grab Jong-il from behind, getting an elbow to the face for his trouble, while the guy directly in front of Jong-il gets a face to the face. Okay. Well, that's kissing. That's what that is. And he ain't doing that. The guy directly in front of Jong-il gets a fist to the face. As he falls back, the last attacker throws a punch from behind, but Jong-il sways left out of the way, before turning around and smashing him in the face with the broadside of the knife. As Jong-il stands in the middle of the falling crowd, Gil-young is pissed, telling Jong-il that he's got some nerve pulling that shit in front of him, and that he'll make him regret what he did. Jong-il gives him a cheeky smile, asking, "Oh, really?"
Known for knocking niggas off, that's why they clicking up together. Murder season, y'all feel that change in the weather.
As the rain pours, Chae So-yeon gets a call from someone to come to their office. It's the chief prosecutor, Kim Man-suk. As she enters and takes a seat, she places her phone on the table. 2 men sit in front of her. One is Kim Man-suk, who she knows, and the other man introduces himself. His name is Lee Jin-hui. Man-suk says that Jin-hui works as a lawyer, but wasn't one of them until recently. Chae So-yeon asks, why is she here? The new man speaks again. He tells her that he's the father of Lee Taehyun. So-yeon is caught off guard. We didn't see Inspector Park Kwang-min. He's not getting the clearance he needs to move the riot squad to stop what's happening in the park. He gets the feeling that this isn't a coincidence. Meanwhile, Jong-il is handling Gil-young at Taesan High. As Gil-young throws a right, Jong-il slips his punch and counters him by jabbing him in the throat with the folded knife. After the strike, he flips the knife into his other hand as Gil-young is stunned from the blow. While Gil-young is still reeling from the blow, Jong-il tells him that he's really bad at fighting. This sets Gil-young off and causes him to attack hastily. Jong-il strikes his fist with the butt end of the knife and follows up with a kick to the ribs, then ending it with another kick to the neck. Gil-young is done in only a few moves, and he never landed a hit on Jong-il. The girls are safe. Now, Hyuk just needs to hold on until he can find out that information. Back in Prosecutor Kim's office, the conversation between lawyers continues. Lee Taehyun's father, Jin-hui, tells So-yeon that he was contacted by a friend he has in the police force, saying that when you're in the field for a long time, you tend to make friends who are in various fields. This is where he realizes he's the one who's responsible for the riot squad being blocked. He denies it and says that his friend just happened to put in the order while they talk. That would make you somewhat responsible. Yeah, okay, listen, you're playing semantics here and full of shit. Your corruption is clear, sir. Over on the rooftop of Taesan High, Ko Sung-chul comes to. He finds Park Han sitting behind him. When Sung-chul asks Han what's going on, he tells him that the door is locked. Sung-chul asks where everyone went, and Han tells him that he thinks they went to get Kang-hoo, following up by saying that he and Sung-chul are next. There's no way that they would let them go after this. Sung-chul whines about Han getting on the chairman's bad side, but Han just sighs and brushes it off. He thinks of jumping over the side. Meanwhile, Jong-il has carried out his mission and successfully rescued Yeoyeon. At the same time, Han Sol has arrived at the park with Tae-jin. She's ready to join the fight, but Tae-jin tells her not to get involved, saying it's not a place where a girl should be going, and he's absolutely right. She'll become a liability right away. She mentions that she just beat all of those other girls, but he tells her she would just end up getting in the way. She may be capable of fighting, but even if she can beat several of the royals, she can't beat someone on Sehun's level. And then there's the lower ranks and their numbers advantage. She'll absolutely get mobbed by all the guys and end up as a hostage. As Tae-jin walks up the steps to the park, having taken off his rain gear and tied his hair back, he's ready to come to Hyuk's aid. He tells her to tell the chicken shuttle where the fight is happening. It's time to see just how mighty Pyo Tae-jin really is. Hyuk is still holding out. Hyun-sung says it's now time for the third years. He doesn't think Hyuk will survive, which seems to make him cackle. But before the third years have their turn, Lee Tae-hyun calls out Ko Tae-hoon and Jong Il-han. Il-han only pretended to hit Hyuk, while Tae-hoon didn't do anything at all. They try to talk their way out of it, but Tae-hyun insists they hit him again. They hesitate, and that's all it takes for Lee Tae-hyun to sick Lee Jae-man. Before he can start, however, Hyuk tells Tae-hyun that that's enough with the petty bullshit. He tells Tae-hyun to leave them alone. He already got what he wanted. Tae-hyun can't believe that Hyuk is actually worried about someone else right now. But Hyuk says that they're not just others, they're friends. The duo seems surprised by this. Tae-hyun says that all Hyuk needs to do is choose, and questions why he would waste his time on those two. Then he tells Lee Jae-man to get to work. But as he moves once again to carry on the task, Hyuk suddenly shouts out, "Kang Dong-cho," which causes them all to stop and look. A look of delight showing on Tae-hyun's face as Hyuk continues on begrudgingly with, "is a screw-up," and struggling to get out the words, "My mother is a..." The members of the circle look on smirking. Hyuk's fist clenches tightly and he says, "Sorry, I messed up." Tae-hyun says if he's really sorry, then finish the sentence. But just then, an enraged shout rings through the area, and Pyo Tae-jin has joined the fight. Over on the rooftop, as Park Han looks over the edge, he spots Ye-ran walking with Jong-il. He calls out to get her attention, and she and Jong-il look up in surprise. Next, we're back in the prosecutor's office. Tae-hyun's father is trying to convince Chae So-yeon not to press charges on Tae-hyun. But she says flat out that she's going to file a criminal case on Lee Tae-hyun for the murder of Kang-hoo. Just then, her superior threatens to have her put someone else on the case. Chae So-yeon frowns as she states out loud that the meeting was to pressure her. This catches both men off guard, and her higher-up chastises her for calling it a pressure meeting. Jin Hui is a bit more reserved. He tells her that she may not know since she's still new, but situations like this will happen a lot in her career, and if she doesn't want her career to take a hit, she should overlook the whole thing. But as she turns her phone over on the table, we see she's been recording the entire meeting, as she says that since she doesn't have the same backing as they do, she'll have no choice but to go after them as well. Then she excuses herself. Chae Seol-yeon is the shit. Jong-il has rescued Han and Sung-chul from the rooftop. He asks Jae-ran if she can trust them and tells them to escort her home since he'll be too busy to do it on his own. Han asks who he is, and he simply replies that he's a friend of Hyuk. They're confused, but Jong-il explains that though they call him Kang-hoo at this school, where Jong-il is from, he's notorious with the name Dokgo. His name seems to ring a bell in their heads.
You know, at some point, these two are probably going to have it in their heads that they're lucky he wasn't home that day they went to go get Who. If they know who he is, which they seem to.
I'll chisel your gravestone. Sleep well.
As Taejin approaches, Pal-young asks if that's the one who lost to him. Taehyun tells everyone to grab their weapons and finish everything immediately. Everyone begins picking up sticks and poles. They had him nearby in a container. But before they begin, someone says wait. When Taehyun asks why, Do Jung-hoon steps forward, saying leave Taejin to him. He wants to put him in place with his wrestling after their last meeting. Taejin is helping up Hyuk. He tells him that both girls are safe and not to worry about them anymore. This is obviously a great weight off of Hyuk. It's good to have reliable friends. One can't help but wonder how things might have gone if they hadn't been working together from the start. As Jung-hoon approaches Taejin to fight, Taehyun tells him to be sure to finish Taejin off this time. Jung-hoon seems very confident. Whatever wrestling he did in 5th grade must have been intense. Taejin tells Hyuk to catch his breath, says that he'll buy him some time. Jung-hoon takes offense to this. The two charge each other, similar to how Taejin went up against Min-soo earlier, but this time the opponents are of the same discipline. Taejin can't surprise Jung-hoon with wrestling the way he did Min-soo. They lock in, grabbing each other by the belt. Jung-hoon attempts to lift Taejin, just like he's trying to uproot a tree. He's completely taken aback, wondering why he can't lift Taejin when he's using his full strength. But on the other end, Taejin has no problem lifting Jung-hoon and dumping him right onto his head. Jung-hoon smacks face first into the ground. Taehyun and Pal-young look on with different expressions, Taehyun being calm, Pal-young appearing shocked. Se-woon watches with a blank expression. But Taejin isn't done. He kneels down, placing his knee into Jung-hoon's back. He then grabs him by the back of his head and proceeds to slam his face into the ground, over and over again. His teeth scatter around the ground under his face, and Jung-hoon begs for Taejin to stop. But why the hell would Taejin do that? After you just spent all that time kicking the shit out of his friend when you had him outnumbered. Mercy is out the window, my man. If you hadn't figured that out already. Looking down at your teeth and all. At the same time, Jong-il is on the way. Han Sol has given him directions over the phone. On the way there, he contacts Jung-rae about the situation. And Jung-rae tells him that Min-soo was moving funny earlier and that he gave up info on Hyuk to Taehyun. Jong-il says he knows and asks Jung-rae to contact the guys he and Hyuk used to hang out with and tell them to meet them at the park. Jung-rae wants to join in, but Jong-il tells him not to, since Jung-rae is still in school unlike them. He doesn't want his friend to get expelled messing around with people who are already dropouts. Taejin has finished off Jung-hoon. Taehyun then gives the command for everyone to get Taejin. Kinda crazy that they all just stood there and watched that happen. But I guess they were in shock. I mean, it's not every day you just see a guy's face get mangled like that. Everyone charges Taejin at once, weapons drawn, but he isn't fazed in the slightest. He rushes the crowd, telling them to come at him. This is Taejin's specialty once again, taking down entire groups. After knocking down several people, Taejin shouts out his status and his name. He was once the national wrestling champion in high school. During his first year, a near impossible feat. That's a story for another time. Today, he's here to help out his friend, and anyone who steps up will be destroyed. Know your role, shut your mouth. Pyo Taejin wants to fight. Having realized that Tae-jin is a wrestler, Taehyun instructs everyone to change tactics, saying that wrestlers have low stamina, so they should prolong the fight and wear him down. What he doesn't know is that Tae-jin hasn't been a wrestler in about 2 or 3 years, and that he's been fighting on the street with Hyuk and Jong-il ever since. If he's got low stamina, it's because all of those fights have ended quickly. Taehyun tells Pal-young to call Min-soo and Gil-young to get the girls done. Good luck with that. Min-soo and Gil-young are still both out cold. At just that moment, Kim Jong-il pulls up to where Han Sol is standing, asking if she's Park Han Sol. She refers to him as Chicken Shuttle. Tae-jin calls him this because of his delivery job, if that wasn't clear by now. Jong-il tells Han Sol to get somewhere safe. She then says, "Don't I look fine to you?" He decides to move on. Clearly she can handle herself. Before heading up the steps, Jong-il asks if she has anything long. She hands him the hairpin of destruction that she had earlier. Perfect for his current needs. Meanwhile, Tae-jin is still throwing people around. Taehyun then sicks 2 of the top-ranked royals on him. Rank 3, Bong Jong-gyo, and Rank 2, Kim Jae-hyun. Jae-hyun tells Tae-jin that he should know his place before someone comes along to check him. Tae-jin calls BS as he throws a right at Jae-hyun. Before he can pull his fist back, Jung-gyo is already attacking from behind, leaping at Tae-jin to attack. But all he did was leave himself completely open and unable to dodge. Tae-jin throws a kick back at Jung-gyo, completely knocking the wind out of him. But Jae-hyun takes advantage of this distraction and sweeps Tae-jin's leg out from under him. As he hits the ground, a couple of the guys try to hit him with their pipes. Tae-jin rolls out of the way and springs to his feet, attacking the 2 who just tried to strike him. He drops the first with a headbutt, the second with a left hook. As they hit the ground, someone strikes him from behind with a metal pipe. But he just seems to have angered Tae-jin, who grabs the pipe and swings it to the side. The guy holding it goes flying because he didn't think to let go of the pipe until after Tae-jin swung it. I think that was Soo-in. He hits the ground in front of the remaining attackers. Pal-young tells Tae-jin that no one is picking up his calls. This irritates Taehyun, who then tells Se-woon to take care of Kang-woo. Se-woon doesn't respond. And Taehyun asks why. Se-woon says that he doesn't want to fight someone who doesn't have the strength to defend himself. Taehyun respects Se-woon's rank as number 1 and tells Hyun-sung to do it instead. Naturally, he doesn't hesitate and seems quite delighted to handle the task. Meanwhile, Taehyun instructs the rest of the royals to attack Tae-jin, and Tae-jin continues to fight. Jae-hyun manages to land a hit on Tae-jin during the melee. This catches Tae-jin off guard, but he seems more impressed than anything. It's not surprising. Jae-hyun was ranked 1 before Se-woon showed up. But, as Tae-jin looks around, something on the battlefield catches his attention. As he looks past the royals, he asks someone if his short legs kept him from getting there any faster. Just behind the crowd, an assassin approaches. Jong-il silently moves through the crowd of lower rankers, dropping every man in his way. They don't even notice him before 4 guys are already down. A look into his eyes reveals an unseen intensity. The usual smiling Jong-il looks pretty pissed. When they finally notice him, Taehyun refers to him as the weakest guy, while Pal-young says he's not even worth fighting, stating that he already beat him in 1 go as he charges Jong-il. As he charges in, Jong-il leaps back and strikes him in 4 precise spots with his weapon before his feet touch the ground again. Pal-young drops to his knees as he looks up at Jong-il, now grinning again. Jong-il tells Pal-young that he's weaker than he expected, before delivering the finishing kick to a now kneeling Pal-young. Onlookers are completely silent as Jong-il and Tae-jin fist bump in solidarity. Meanwhile, Hyun-sung has dragged Hyuk over to an isolated area just to beat him. As he throws Hyuk against a tree and taunts him, saying that things are coming to a close, that Tae-hyun is tired of playing with him. He clearly missed what just happened. He then kicks Hyuk to the ground and stomps on his head. Hyun-sung says he wanted to be in Tae-hyun's position, but he's only smart enough to do things like this as he continues to beat on Hyuk. But then, Tae-hoon and Il-han show up, telling him to stop. He can't believe they're actually doing this, but they are. Taehyun charges in first and gets punched in the face for his efforts. He falls back as Ilhan tries his hand next, but he just gets the other hand. But then, Taehyun springs back up, attempting a jump kick, a risky maneuver, especially for an amateur. I know from experience. First day in Taekwondo class I ended up on the floor. Hyun-sung makes him pay for it, knocking him to the ground and pinning him there. Just like that. But as he swings down for the finishing blow, Hyuk catches his hand, and without saying anything, he drives his elbow into Hyun-sung's elbow, while still gripping his fist. This dislocates Hyun-sung's wrist. He screams in pain, but Hyuk isn't done just yet. He grabs Hyun-sung by the shirt while still holding his arm and tosses him face first into a nearby tree, finishing up by slamming an elbow against his head, smashing his face even more into the tree. Hyuk is done resting. Hyun-sung is just done. Hyuk leaves Hyun-sung laying beneath the tree as he returns to the ongoing battle. He's driven by a desire to help his friends, but the beatings he took have taken a toll on him. Some of the regular circle members make an attempt to take him down using weapons, but this is where we see Hyuk's raid skill, Joint Breaker. The first attacker gets his arm broken before he's tossed into another person. The second attacks from behind. Hyuk slams into him by backing up and grabs his arm, using momentum to break it over his shoulder. The last guy happens to still be under the initial attack. It's a scream that alerts Taehyun to what's happening. He calls on Se-woon to take care of the situation. Se-woon is unlike the other members of the circle. He isn't interested in being on someone who can't fight back. He tries to talk Hyuk down, but before he realizes it, his arm is in a grip. Se-woon snatches away just in time. The strength of Hyuk's grip has left a bruise on his arm. Hyuk tells Se-woon that if he doesn't have any intentions on fighting him, but if he gets in his way, he'll have to destroy him. Se-woon doesn't take that statement lightly. It seems that now he'll have to fight Hyuk whether he's beaten down or not. At the same time, Inspector Park and his partner, whose name we still haven't been told, are on their way to the park to try and stop the fight on their own. It seems they've given up on the riot squad. As they're driving along, a couple of motorcycles pass by, earning the partner's wrath as he curses them for being punk kids. Inspector Park notices that they seem to be going in the same direction as them, and feels like he may know who they are, recognizing them because he specializes in school violence cases. They put on the sirens and pull them over to find that they are in fact Hyuk's friends from the alleyway. He asks them if they're on their way to help out Hyuk, and then if they want to be good citizens and help out the police. They've been deputized in order to stop the fight at the park, in lieu of official manpower. Works for me. Lee Se-woon is on the move, actively trying to take down Hyuk. Even though Hyuk is tired, Lee Se-woon can't seem to land a clean blow on him. Meanwhile, Hyuk can't get a good grip on Se-woon either. However, when Hyuk pauses for a moment after losing his grip on Se-woon, he takes a strong blow to the side, causing him to collapse to his knee. This leaves him open for a finishing blow from Se-woon. But it's a trap, and Se-woon finds himself in Hyuk's grip after all. And then with his arm now broken, Se-woon is dropped to one knee from 2 follow-up hits from Hyuk. He looks at Taehyun with a defeated expression, saying he doesn't think he can do it. You definitely can't do it. Clearly. Taehyun is visibly annoyed, but his day is only going to get worse. There's nothing standing between him and Hyuk now. We see Park Han and Ko Sung-chul. Han tells Sung-chul to take Ye-ran the rest of the way, as he wants to go back to the park to help out Hyuk. Sung-chul is consistent in character, as he insults Han for his desire to help, asking if he thinks he'll be able to do anything. Feels like he still doesn't realize Han is stronger. But Ye-ran also speaks up, telling Han that he needs to go and help, and that she'll be fine. She says that Hyuk helped them, so it's only right for them to help him in return. Although the only help that Sung-chul gave Hyuk was not tiring him out with a good fight. As Han tosses off the wristband that marks him as a member of the Circle, one of the royal bodyguards especially, Sung-chul asks, what could he possibly do with a broken arm? Han tells him just kick the ones on the ground.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Back on the battlefield, Hyuk is moving to help Jong-il and Tae-jin. When Tae-jin notices, he calls Jong-il in for a striker attack and moves to Hyuk. Tae-jin gives Hyuk a pep talk as he ties his hair back. He tells Hyuk to leave everyone else to him and Jong-il, telling him to go get Taehyun. Hyuk says, all right. Taehyun is visibly annoyed that he has to actually do his own dirty work now. He gets upset whenever things aren't going exactly as he wants. A spoiled brat to the end. Hyuk and Taehyun charge at each other, screaming to release tension as they swing and strike one another at the same time. They both reel back from the punches. As they both attempt to follow up, Hyuk is knocked to one knee by Taehyun's blow. Though he has a second wind, it's still going to be an upward fight. Taehyun takes his watch off his wrist and puts it over his left knuckles. He says, some people think that he can't fight just because he gives out orders and doesn't get involved. A fair conclusion to reach, if you don't know who Geese Howard is. Taehyun begins to lay blows into Kang Hyuk, using his weaponized wristwatch. He delivers several blows to him before knocking him down. As Taehyun tells Hyuk that fighting him in this current condition won't end well for him. But just so you know, Taehyun, even if you win, one of the other two is still going to kick the shit out of you just because they don't like you. Between the blood in his eyes, and the exhaustion, and the hundreds of blows he's taken, Hyuk's vision is blurry. He throws out a fist, but hits nothing. Taehyun calls him a moron, and asks him what he's doing. Hyuk wasn't just blindly attacking. He was measuring the distance between himself and Taehyun. Just then, Taehyun throws a left and feints into a right when Hyuk reaches for his arm. Taehyun's blow lands clean, dropping Hyuk down to his knees. Taehyun asks Hyuk what he'll do now that he's seen through his specialty target. In the meantime, Tae-jin and Jong-il have laid down the remaining rolls and brought themselves some breathing room. At the park entrance, Han Sol waits patiently, and that's when backup arrives. Hyuk's friends pull up on their motorcycles. They race up the steps to help, as Inspector Park pulls up behind them. Han Sol asks if this is his riot squad, but he says they're just brave citizens. Chae-hyun has fallen into his habit of mocking Hyuk, when he should just be focusing on finishing the fight. Hyuk remains defiant, giving Taehyun the finger, as he should. This incites Taehyun into attacking him. Taehyun, under the impression that he only needs to avoid getting grabbed, but this mistake finds him on the receiving end of a punch to the face, knocking him right on the face, leaving him confused with a bloody face. Hyuk asks Taehyun who told him that attacking joints was his specialty. Taehyun springs to his feet in a furious attack, but Hyuk slips past his punch and gives him a rib-wrecking shot before grabbing him by the shirt. Taehyun doesn't falter, however. He returns a right to Hyuk's side. It's now just a blow-for-blow main. The two trade punches back and forth evenly, so to speak, since Hyuk came into this worn down. Taehyun manages a hip toss in order to throw Hyuk to the ground and mount him for the finish. Tae-jin and Jong-il realize that backup isn't needed with everyone laid out around them, while wondering how the fight is going for Hyuk. Taehyun tells Hyuk that he'll always end up like a loser before trying to finish him off. As Taehyun throws his final blow, Hyuk manages to move his upper body and grabs Taehyun's collar, using the momentum to yank him from position and reverse the mount. He has one of Taehyun's arms pinned with his knee, while holding the other one. As he looks down at Taehyun, Hyuk tells him one thing: come live like a loser for once. The sound of Taehyun's bone breaking rings the gong for the end of the fight. Kang-hoo's death has been avenged. Wait. I was wrong. Hyuk decides he hasn't been avenged. A broken arm isn't enough, and I agree. He smashes a fist into Taehyun's face as he lies motionless on the ground. And then another. And another. And, well, let's just say he lays in a few punches, leaving his own fist bloody and damaged, as Tae-jin and Jong-il look on. Taehyun's face has been battered and bloody. Hyuk looks down at Taehyun one more time before raising his fist into the air with a primal scream. This will end it for sure. But Tae-jin steps in to stop Hyuk from becoming a murderer. There's no sense in getting dragged down along with the trash we came to take out. It's finally over. The mission is complete. Hyuk screams one more time as he realizes this. A great weight lifted off his shoulders. Just then, the cavalry arrives. Hyuk's friends arrive at the top of the hill with the police, only to find 3 men among a crowd of fallen bodies. Sometime later, we find a news report being broadcast on a public TV about a high school delinquent circle that was pulling in 210 million won and bribing the principal for 2.5 years. Looking at the screen, we see Lee Se-won, his arm in a cast and a smile on his face. He has a chance at a fresh start. He didn't seem cut out for the life he was living anyway. Lee Tae-hyun is not so lucky. With his face taped up and a hood over his head, he sits in front of prosecutor Chae So-young. She taunts him the way he's used to taunting others. She tells him that she's going to show him what real legal power looks like. Tae-hyun is stunned but silence. His daddy can't get him out of this one. Chae So-young does not compromise. We then see Kang Hyuk taking a walk with Park Kwang-min. As the inspector updates Hyuk on the details of the situation, Hyuk won't face any legal troubles because the incident will be considered self-defense. Park Han, Ko Tae-hoon, and Jong Il-han all turned in statements to back him up. Park Han and Ko Sung-chol showed up at the park that day, but everyone was already gone. Hyuk still appreciates the gesture. Kwang-min asks Hyuk if he's dating Park Han-sol or So Ye-ran, but he says it was who they liked, and not him. Han-sol was devastated at the news that Who is dead. Kwang-min asks Hyuk what made him want to protect the girls in that situation, and Hyuk gives an answer that suits his character, stating that loyalty isn't just between men, it's something you give to everyone who helped along the way, a sentiment lost in the world we live in. This makes Kwang-min ask Hyuk if he believed Tae-hyun would keep his word, but Hyuk isn't so naive. He knows that what Tae-hyun wanted was to see him break. The girls never mattered. Hyuk says that if he had chosen one, then Tae-hyun would have had them both done it. But if Hyuk did as he said, he would have had them released simply because his goal was to make Hyuk feel inferior. Kwang-min asks Hyuk what he plans to do now. He says he wants to rest and go back to his own life. His time as a student is over. He parts ways with Kwang-min over a handshake, stepping through the doors and out of his brother's shadow. With his mission over, Hyuk now moves forward. It's time to live his own life. It's time to be Hyuk. Whatever that may mean.
Listen, I love Team 4 Star just as much as anybody else. I loved Dragon Ball Abridged. But a lot of you seem to be getting this hot take from that Goku is a bad father, and that's ridiculous. And motherfucker, I got receipts. But we're not here for that right now. What we're here for is the end of Dokgo. As I said before, it's a manhwa that I thoroughly enjoy. And I want to say I've read it close to 10 times now, but that's definitely, I've definitely read it more than 10 times now, because I had to read it like 5 times for this review, along with putting it together, for this video. So, I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed every goddamn minute of it. I could read this, I'm probably going to read it again, but I also want to get through One Piece one more time, because I have a lot of fucking thoughts on One Piece, because I've been reading it since Buggy first hit Shonen Jump in, like, I want to say 2002. Yeah, that long ago. I'm an old man. I made it somehow. Whoops. Yeah, life's going well. But as I've said, I've read this almost, well, again, more than 10 times now. And it was the first of the Meanverse comics that I got to read, and really drew me in completely. Like, when I found out that there would be more, I was super excited. And, I read all of it as it was being translated. So, I had that wait in between chapters sometimes. And shout out to all the teams that worked to get these series out to us, over here. Because we could have missed out on something good with this one if not for them. So props to anybody who did any work on it. And a lot of those groups are defunct now, but it was good having them around when they were. And the thing I love about this series, because I'm not like most people. I fucking hate fan service being constantly shoved at me. Like, I loved Tenjo Tenge, but I could have done without most of the over-sexualization. I really didn't. It didn't enhance the story or anything. It was just like, listen, if I want to go look at titties, I'll go look at titties. I came here to see a fight. I like to keep those things separate. I'm like that. Unless we're talking about KOF, and then, well, who isn't looking when Mai comes up? I know I am. Yeah, so I absolutely love the way the art captures the mood. You know what I mean? Like, it's raw and it's gritty, and it's like, recently he's come out and he's working with another artist, and the art is a little more contemporary to like what you see in Korean comics. And in all honesty, it kind of hurts the effect for me, because like, you have characters who are in the other series, but the way they're drawn just looks so odd that they lose a lot of aura. These characters carry a lot of aura just from this art style, like that dead serious look that they get. Even when there is like a bit of humor, it still looks serious, so it comes off as kind of a little more ridiculous to me. But as a character, I absolutely loved Kang Hyuk, because he was so focused. You know what I mean? Like, he had to really take into account what he was doing with every little move, because one slip up and he's got like 100 people coming after him. And while we saw him take a lot of hits there, like, he didn't exactly fight 100 people, at least not by himself. Like, and for me, like, I love that durability that he had, because even after all that, it was still an even fight with Taehyun. Like, he had to do all of that to him, and he still had to do all that to fight him even. So imagine if he had gone at him, like, for real during a one-on-one. Crazy. But, I'm always drawn to characters like that who, like, they don't talk a lot, they just get shit done. Like, I'm a big fan of Jotaro, from series 3 of JoJo. Like, that's what made me get into the series. Like, I bought that Dreamcast game for like $9. The fools. They were selling that for $9 at one point, and I still have it. Yeah.
Never mind. No, I don't. I need you breaking here for that. But I love characters who are more about getting shit done and thinking than, just straight up meatheads. But don't get me wrong, like, I love a good action character too. Like, I love Goku, and he's not the brightest until you get him into a fight. And then, I swear to God, he's autistic. It's like that one focus that we all have. And again, Goku's another time. I have a lot of fucking thoughts on Goku. Because Dragon Ball Z was pretty much my second anime. No, not really, because there was Ronin Warriors a little before that started popping up. And what else was there? Well, I forget, but it was a long time ago. And I love the way they introduced Kim Jong-il and Tae-jin. Particularly with Tae-jin, it was like he was, like he might be some kind of threat, but really they're just buds, bros. And that's another thing. I love I don't know if you could call it bromance. They didn't spend enough time together for that, but they're definitely, like, you can see their friendship. And I feel like that kind of shit gets overlooked for, like, romance. It's one of the things I loved about, like, Toriko. Like, him getting married was just some shit that was kind of, like, happening. Like, when he said yes, it didn't matter. Same with Goku. He was like, he thought it was dinner. And I feel that. I would have said yes, too. But Taehyun himself was a pretty compelling villain, and I love the fact that they didn't, like, you see him finding out what Hyuk's doing. Like, he's not oblivious the whole time. He's actually working against and, moving Hyuk's plans in the way that he wants. And for me, like, that, I thought that was it was interesting, because a lot of times you see a villain, you don't really get their side of shit. Like, you're am I side of things, like how they progress as the hero progresses is usually kind of interesting to me. Well, not usually, like, anytime I see it, I've liked it. Like, you always saw, like, what Frieza was doing while Vegeta was trying to steal the Dragon Balls from him. Like, he's having, like, little talks and killing henchmen for questioning him. And you get that kind of air from Taehyun. Like, he's just an asshole who wants everything his way. He keeps his underlings in line with an iron fist. He'll use his father's influence when he wants to. And it's like, he takes it personally when someone, like, pretty much, if they speak out against him in any way, he takes that personally. Like, he's not up for it. And that's very similar to, someone we all know and have come to love as a villain, and I guess a lesser villain, because he's not, let's be honest, Frieza's not as evil as he was. And then you have Pao Young and Jung Hoon, like, they are absolutely loyal to him. They can, I'm sure they know that, like, their future is with him. You know what I mean? Like I said before, these guys are going to get jobs. They're not stupid. They're not low-class thugs. This is just a way for them to get ahead in their own field. You know what I mean? They're going to go forward, and they're going to apply this same philosophy to, like, the workplace. Because it's not like they're going to be in an average workplace. They're going to be in a place where they have to dominate, and things might get physical. Like, well, if you haven't seen the rest of the, other series, like, it seems like their gangster world and their corporate world are very intertwined, and it leads to a lot of violence. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the corporations are backed by these gangsters, and so essentially the gangsters operate as corporations. So one way or another, you get violence. It's I don't know if Korea's actually like that, but that would be wild. Again, I don't know. You kind of see that in, like, Old Boy too. Now that I think about it, like, that whole business was like they contracted shit from, like, corporations and whatnot, like, to lock people up for like 10 years. So I don't know. Maybe I should find out more about the Korean underworld. I really don't know enough. But I'll admit that. But
there's an interesting contrast with those two and the rest of the people who work under Taehyun, because none of them really seem to garner his respect the way those two do. Like he keeps them informed. He asks for their advice. He really like considers them as equals. And I don't know if he's a better fighter than they are, because all three of them went up against people they had no business fighting to begin with. But it seems like they made a pretty good team, and chances are I would wager that those three have fought each other before and probably became friends via that, because I've had that happen to me a lot. So, sometimes you trade blows with a guy and you just come to respect him. Even if it's like just for not being a bitch, you know what I mean? Simple as that. Sometimes just not being a bitch is enough to bring like two guys together. Excuse me. But yeah, I also really liked the development of Ko Tae-hoon and Jong Il-han, because they start out as just low level scumbag henchmen. And they're pretty awful to Jong-hoo. And, you can tell because it's really just, they probably don't have the money to pay. They don't have the smarts to get through school. And it's just better him than them. Let's be honest here. Like, Ko Tae-hoon is like, if Jong-hoo weren't there, it would probably have been him who ended up like that. He wasn't like the bravest guy, and he was definitely he was literally the lowest ranked. So, of course, he's gonna treat Jong-hoo like that, because it's like, if he doesn't, then he risks being the target himself. And that kind of cowardly personality, it kind of slowly gets stripped away to a point where now he's putting his own well-being on the line for Hyuk. Like, he got stabbed. He went up against Hyun Sung knowing that like there's no way him and Jong Il-han were gonna fight Cho Hyun Sung and come out like winners. They'd be lucky to come out alive, honestly, because that dude's pretty awful. He's scum. I'm pretty sure he would have killed them. like they don't care. Like, they're a pretty awful group of teenagers, but like that shit's real. And so, while you don't see Il-han as much, he, at the same time, he sticks with Tae-hoon and Kang-hyuk, even when, again, like, his life is on the line. Like, ultimately, they really did have a turnaround, and you can see, like, for some people, it's just a matter of like, who it is that they're following, Like, they might be pawns, but depending on the king, they might be pawns that you like. I ended up liking Ko Tae-hoon and Jong Il-han in the end, and I hope other people do too. I hope that like they've earned some forgiveness, because I feel like they did. I feel like they really earned that. Let's just give it to them. But as for Sung Hwan, fuck that guy. I'm fuck that guy. I hate him. But and I always feel sorry for Jong-hoo, and that's why like you're really better off just like fighting back and getting beat up, because just getting beat up isn't gonna stop you from getting beat up. Trust me. If you fight back, they might say, "Well, shit, it's not worth it." Like, point blank. Because I've been in that scenario. Like, I thought I might have to fight a guy once, and he just left me the fuck alone, because I guess he knew that I was just not worth the hassle. Like, he might win, but I play clean. I don't give a fuck about a fair fight. Sorry, I really don't. I care about going home okay. That's just always the way I've been. But, the series, it really captures just how awful bullying in school and all that shit can be for some people. Like, I was burnt out by the time I got to high school, and even though people left me alone, I just hated fucking being there with all those most people. So imagine going through what like Jungkook was going through. You know what I mean? Like just being picked on every goddamn day for nothing, and then not having anybody you can rely on because you know his dad is probably just like him. Well, I mean, we saw he was just like him, and and you know you can't always help that. Some people they just have that nature, like, and that I think people like that, you know, they should be left the fuck alone. Like you shouldn't be bothering a guy like Jungkook. Like what the fuck's he for what? Because your dad doesn't love you? Well, go find a woman. Maybe I don't know. My dad. Well, actually, no. My dad did love me. He was gonna kill a guy for me. So, you know, I can't say that I didn't feel that. Maybe I'm talking out of turn. I don't have that experience, but I don't know. Overall, Dokgo, it was kind of one of the shorter stories. Tong is in 3 parts, but it all kind of runs cohesively. Dokgo is also in 3 parts, but there's I don't know if there's more time in between, but the stories connect a little less, sort of. Like it's the same characters, but unlike with Tong, it's not quite as cohesive. You know what I mean? Like you could read Dokgo 2 without having read 1 or rewind, and it still be able to make sense of it. But if you read like Tong Vanity without reading Tong or Tong Classified, then you might be a little lost because there's going to be a bunch of people from the past 2 stories, and then you're not going to know who any of them are or why this shit's important or this, that, and the other, you know. So, and you know, there's moments like that with the other 2 stories, of course, with Dokgo and Dokgo 3, but at the same time, the way the events play out, you don't really need to read the other stories to get connected to the characters that are in them, if that makes sense. But you know, I still remember the first time I finished the series because I think they had just started Tong, but you know, they weren't working on it that frequently, and so it was kind of like, you know, that feeling you get after you finished a really, really good game, or even worse, like a saga. Like when I finished Xenosaga 3, after playing, I played all 3 back to back, and after I finished 3, I was just like, oh, now what? You know what I mean? Like what's gonna be that fulfilling in the next like few months? That's like, if you've played all 3 Xenosaga games back to back, even at any point, because like that was like, for me, that was the first playthrough. Like I've just played them all back to back, first playthrough, and it was just so good. It was incredible, and I aced the first game. Like I lost no battles in that one. The second game, I thought the second game was actually really easy, but I did end up losing. Like I lost the boss fight the first time I went up against it, because I didn't even realize it was a boss fight, so I wasn't really paying attention, and I ended up like just getting wiped out. And so I aced it the second time, but the third one I found was really difficult. Like maybe I just sucked at it, but I found that one really hard, and it was great because of it. And I'm not somebody who likes hard games. Like I play easy mode. Like I don't give a fuck. I like to relax. But for that one, like the challenge was kind of part of the fun. Like I don't know. Maybe it's just RPGs I like to be challenged in, but not fighting games. Maybe I just don't have the finger dexterity anymore. But yeah, you know. So that's how I felt with Dokgo. Like I just got that feeling of like, now what? And you know, at the time, that was like just a legitimate question of because there was nothing else to really read that wasn't already ongoing. But you know, if you were lucky enough to pick this up now, or you just discovered this series through his videos, then I guess you're kind of in luck, because you can now go read Dokgo Rewind, or you could Take a trip with me. No, I'm still here. I just got really still. Okay, now I'm gone. I'm out.